The holding cell hummed with a low frequency that made Ree's sensory stalks twitch. 6 cycles. 6 long cycles since they brought the human aboard, and he was still unconscious on the medical platform. His chest rose and fell in that strange rhythm peculiar to humans. Ray tapped her observation window nervously. "Status?" she asked. Her assistant, Bryn, a young Calrath, scrolled across his data slate. "Stable. Sedative levels holding at maximum safe dosage. Vitals normal for a human. Technically." Ree's eyes narrowed. "Technically isn't good enough. I need certainty." Bryn's scales flushed purple. "We've never treated a human before. Everything we know comes from intercepted databases and one very questionable autopsy from the Vexian incident." "Ah yes, the infamous Vexian incident. 3 Vexian guards, 1 unarmed human. Classified footage. Rumors spread like wildfire. The human on the table, Tommy Reeves, was 1.8 meters long, 2 eyes, an odd patch of fur, 5 fingers with flat nails. Evolutionary madness. His stasis pod had failed 40 hours before they reached him. Sedative reservoir at 62%, Bryn reported. Enough for another 8 cycles before we reach the station." "Good. Keep him under," Ray said. "The last thing we need is an awake human causing problems." Green's head tilted, a warning. "Isn't that prejudiced? He's a civilian, not violent. Records show no military experience." Ree's mandibles clicked. "I'm not saying all humans are violent, but the ones who are frighteningly good at it. Better safe than sorry." She turned and left, giving a final order. "Double-check the sedative calculations. I want to know now, not when we're 3 cycles from the nearest station." The medical frigate Mercy's Echo wasn't large. Just 37 crew. Mostly mining accidents, occasional decompression incidents, and now a human. Earth, as they called it, was a death trap. Gravity, oxygen, weather, predators. Humans survived anyway. Respect, yes. Distance, definitely. Ray sat at her console, reviewing paperwork when the alarm shrieked. Plasma sharp, she raced back. Bryn's scales flashed in rapid colors. Red, purple, blue, yellow. "What happened?" I don't know," Bryn stammered. "I was running calculations, and his vitals, heart rate, breathing, they changed." He opened his eyes. Ray froze. The sedatives should have kept him under for 8 more cycles. Tommy Reeves looked around calmly, curious. Not panicked. Curious. "Increased dosage," Ray ordered. "Maximum safe level reached," Bryn replied. "Do it anyway," she hissed. His eyes drooped, head lolled, then snapped open again. And he waved at the observation window. "B, why the ancients, Drell." He was conscious. Tommy Reeves was awake. And mobile. Reeves' sensory stalks twitched as she watched him swing his legs over the edge of the medical platform. His bare feet touched the floor. The 4 lines stretched taut, but he didn't panic. He looked at it and yanked it out. "Run. The human is mobile." Ray shrieked. Bryn's voice cracked over the comm. He's standing and looking around. Sedatives still in effect. They shouldn't let him move. The human paused, tilted his head like he was studying the room, then walked calmly toward the door. Ray felt a chill. He's strong, smarter than expected, unpredictable. The medical bay door was locked, as it should be. But Tommy didn't hesitate. He pressed buttons, pushed panels. Nothing worked. Then he stepped back, drew his leg up, and kicked. The reinforced door shuddered but held. He kicked again, and again. "Oh my stars," Bryn whispered. "He's trying to break out." The intercom crackled. "Medical, this is the bridge. Security alert. Captain Thex here. Status. Sir, human patient is awake and attempting to breach the door. Lockdown initiated." There was a pause, then a calm, gravelly voice. "A human? Are you certain?" "Yes, sir." Attempting with his foot. Ray watched Tommy kick the door. Metal tore along the seal. The gap widened just enough for him to slip through. Bloodied foot. No fear. "Hello," the human called, voice rough but controlled. "Is anyone there? I just want to know where I am." The ship's AI translated. Ray activated the communicator. "Mr. Reeves, this is lead physician. You are aboard Mercy's Echo. You were rescued 6 cycles ago." 6 cycles. Tommy frowned. That's 9 days. Yes. You were sedated for your safety and ours. Tommy laughed. Bitter, unhinged. Of course. Human. Dangerous by default. Ray exhaled slowly. Please try to understand. We didn't mean to harm you. I get it. Scary humans, deathworlders, monsters of the fringe, and I'm just a mining engineer. Never thrown a punch in my life. He pressed a hand to the window, staring at the stars. Where's my crew? Ray exchanged a glance with Bryn. 17 others. Your stasis pods didn't survive without power. You were the only one. Tommy went still. His fist curled against the glass. Grief filled the room, heavy and silent. Finally, he spoke, soft, almost a whisper. I need to send messages. Someone has to tell them. Of course, Ray said. We'll help. But you must return to your quarters to recover. No more sedatives, Tommy said flatly. I will stay in designated areas. I will cooperate. But no more being knocked out for your own good. Ray considered the risk. But watching him, she realized he wasn't violent. He wasn't aggressive. He was human. All right, she said. But you'll wear a monitoring bracelet, and security will escort you. Tommy grinned. Fair enough. Document fair enough. By the next artificial cycle, Tommy Reeves was no longer just the human who had kicked down the medical bay door. He was sitting at the engineering terminal, eyes scanning schematics of the problematic regeneration chamber. Ray observed from the doorway, her sensory stalks twitching with curiosity and mild anxiety. Beside her, Bryn hovered like a nervous shadow, all four hands clutching data slates. Lead physician, Bryn said cautiously. He wants to help fix the chamber. Ray blinked. Help or sabotage? Bryn hesitated. I ran simulations based on his suggestions. They are correct. He could increase efficiency by 30% and eliminate the overheating. By the ancients, Ray muttered, mandibles clicking softly. The human was actually right. Tommy approached the chamber, kneeling beside the access panel. His hands moved confidently, manipulating components with precision. What's the problem? He asked aloud, almost to himself. Thermal buildup in the quantum field generator causes cascade failures. Coolant flow adjustments only shift the pressure issues. Bryn's scales cycled nervously. Yes, that is exactly our issue. Linear thinking won't solve this, Tommy continued. Quantum field and coolant system are a feedback loop. Need a dampening system to absorb thermal spikes without increasing coolant. Hybrid material, ceramic composite matrix mixed at molecular level with your metal alloys, will stabilize the housing. The security officers exchanged confused looks, but Bryn's eyes widened. Simulation confirms he's correct. Ray stepped closer, examining the calculations. He's not just guessing, he's thinking creatively. Over the next 6 hours, Tommy guided the Rexians through the repair. He demonstrated, explained, and adapted techniques from mining equipment to alien medical technology. Hand me the blue grip calibration tool, he said, head buried in the panel. Rin passed it over. How did you know it would be blue? Tommy shrugged. Color coding is universal for function. Blue, precision. Red, power. Yellow, safety. Most species follow similar patterns. The older security officer muttered under his breath, impressed. Humans, they notice things. Ray laughed softly, a clicking sound that startled Tommy. You've solved in 6 hours what our engineers couldn't fix in 2 months. He looked embarrassed. Not complicated. You just needed a fresh perspective. By the end of the cycle, the chamber hummed smoothly. Temperature stable, quantum field coherence at 98%, pressure within safe parameters. By the ancients, Bryn whispered, it actually works. Of course it works, Tommy said, genuinely puzzled. Why suggest something that wouldn't work? The security officers nodded slowly, respect replacing caution. You know your craft, one admitted. Tommy grinned. I hope so. Word spread quickly through the ship. By the next morning, requests for Tommy's technical assistance arrived from multiple departments. Surgical suite layout optimization, air recycling efficiency, hyperspace regulator diagnostics. Captain Thex summoned Ray. You want to let a human work on critical systems? Not critical, Ray replied, but it keeps him engaged and cooperative. And he's right. The captain's 6 eyes swiveled suspiciously. Any sign of aggression, he goes back into containment. Understood, understood, Ray said, already planning the next session. Tommy Reeves was becoming part of the ship, not as a prisoner, not as a threat, but as a human capable of ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. Ray watched him, realizing something profound. Sometimes trust and curiosity could be more powerful than fear. By the next stellar cycle, Tommy Reeves had become a fixture in the engineering bay. The Rexians whispered about him, some in awe, some in thinly veiled suspicion. But no one could deny results. The ship's environmental regulators have been failing intermittently, causing dangerous temperature spikes in living quarters. Tommy observed the system's logs, brows furrowed. Your feedback loops are inefficient, he said aloud, tapping on the alien interface. You're trying to correct errors reactively instead of predicting them. Sensors can be calibrated for anticipatory corrections. Bryn's antennae twitched. Predictive modeling that is possible. Tommy nodded. Yes. With slight algorithmic adjustments and phase sensor input, you can preempt the spike before it happens. He worked through the cycle, guiding the Rexian step by step. He mapped the environmental controls to a hybrid predictive model, combining human logic and alien sensor arrays. Now, when the quantum field flux spikes, it'll automatically adjust coolant flow and reroute excess energy to reserve capacitors, Tommy explained. The captain watched the system metrics climb. It's flawless. Ren leaned in, muttering, I didn't think a human could understand our systems this fast. Humans adapt, Tommy said simply. We notice patterns. That's how we survive. The success gave Tommy influence over other ship systems. He redesigned cargo hold efficiency, improved air circulation, and even suggested minor modifications to the gravity stabilizers that increased comfort without risking safety. Some crew members resisted. We've done this for cycles. Why change now? Tommy shrugged. Because it works better this way. Ray observed quietly, realizing that trust and competence were forming a bridge between species. Humans weren't just fragile creatures. They were innovators. The turning point came when a micrometeor storm struck unexpectedly. The ship's shields flickered under intense debris impact. Shields are unstable, Bryn shouted. Tommy ran calculations, fingers flying across the controls. Divert power from secondary systems to primary shield matrix. Synchronize pulse frequency with debris velocity. Seconds later, the shield stabilized. The storm passed with minimal damage. The crew was stunned. The human had saved them. Captain Thex's voice crackled over the comm. Human, you may have just earned your place aboard this ship. Ree's mandibles clicked softly in approval. I told you. Sometimes, all you need is someone who thinks differently. By the end of the cycle, Tommy Reeves was no longer a prisoner, a threat, or a curiosity. He was an indispensable asset, a human capable of reshaping the way an entire alien crew approached engineering, strategy, and problem-solving. And for the first time, the Rexians began to realize that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't muscle or aggression. It was creativity, adaptability, and relentless ingenuity. By the final cycle before reaching the station, Tommy Reeves had become more than a visitor. He was a presence that reshaped the Mercy's echo. Alien crews whispered, speculated, and sometimes even laughed at his unconventional methods until they worked. The ship's bridge buzzed with tension. A sudden sensor alert flared. An uncharted debris field, denser and faster than any standard charts predicted. Estimated collision trajectory in 7 minutes, reported the NAV computer. Captain Thex barked orders, his 6 eyes swiveling in coordination. Shields, navigation, power distribution, all systems primed. It's something about the data made Ray uneasy. Tommy, leaning over the console, tilted his head. Your predictive models are reactive. You'll be too late. What do you suggest? Ray asked. Combine predictive sensor data with micro adjustments to thrusters in real time. It's like threading a needle while riding a storm. The Rexians exchanged worried looks. This was human improvisation, something the galaxy often feared. Tommy coordinated with engineering and navigation. Every microsecond counted. Thrusters pulsed, shield harmonics adjusted, power rerouted. The Mercy's Echo danced through the debris like it had a mind of its own. Trajectory stable, Bryn announced, astonishment clear in his tone. Captain Thex exhaled, the first sound of relief in cycles. Impressive, human. That was incredible. Tommy just shrugged, barefoot on the console floor, wires and panels scattered around him. I do what I can. Survive, adapt, fix problems. The crew realized something profound. Humans weren't naturally aggressive. They were adaptable, relentless, and creative under pressure. A human could be the calm in a storm, the spark of ingenuity that no alien protocol could predict. Over the next few hours, trust between species solidified. Aliens who had feared human unpredictability began consulting Tommy for solutions. Small crises, minor system failures, resource optimizations, even morale issues were all solved with his input. Ray observed quietly. Her databases, her historical records, all had underestimated humans. But here, in real time, the truth was undeniable. Humans were extraordinary, not because of brute strength, but because of intelligence, creativity, and resilience. When a Mercy's Echo finally docked at the station, human services representatives were ready. Protocols demanded quarantine and evaluation, but the crew intervened. Tommy Reeves is not a threat, Ray insisted. He is a survivor, an engineer, a problem solver. He deserves to be judged by his actions, not fear or reputation. The officers studied the human carefully, then nodded. Even bureaucracy couldn't deny the facts. The human had saved the ship, optimized its systems, and earned respect across an entire alien crew. Tommy stepped off the ramp, carrying a small token from the crew, a wrench made from recycled components. He turned to Ray. "Thanks for treating me like a person," he said softly. "For giving me a chance." Ray nodded, feeling something she rarely allowed herself. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, humans could change not just the minds of one crew, but the perception of an entire galaxy.